Welcome to So Code. This channel is dedicated to discussing and learning how you can become a developer overnight. Yes, and I mean a full stack developer overnight, just like myself. Although I didn't start this way because programming nowadays is not what it used to be back in the day. And being a software developer does not necessarily mean you want to pursue an IT career or a career in software development. It's just about making use of the tools and technologies and tips that we were learning from here to transform processes, to build processes, to make life easier for you, to make life better for you. And of course, you may decide eventually to pursue a career in development, which is actually a very good one nowadays. Irrespective of the environment you find yourself, you will be able to use this knowledge to transform environment, transform processes, improve processes essentially, and even cut costs. All right. For the most part of our discussion, we'll be making use of Microsoft Powerapps. Powerapps is one of the Microsoft Power tools that was released in recent times to improve programming or software developing time with minimal codes. So it's a low code development environment where you majorly do drag and drop to develop solutions. So what is Power App itself? According to its official definition, Power App is a tool that allows users to create custom apps for business needs. It's a suite of apps, services, connectors, and data platform that provides a rapid development environment. Users can create both canvas and model driven apps and can start from a table, sketch, sentence, or their own code. Power Apps offers a variety of templates, drag and drop capabilities, and visual app designer, so users don't need to know a lot about coding. And this is the sweet thing about Microsoft Power Apps, because you do not need to know so much of coding before you can begin to do amazing things with Microsoft Power Apps. And you might be hearing Power Apps for the very first time. Even as a tech person, you might not have heard a lot about Power Apps. I know a lot of people have heard about Power BI, Power Queries, and sorts, but Power Apps might not be as common as it is. But whatever the category you find yourself, be it you have or haven't heard about it, doesn't really make any difference. You can pick it up, and in a very short while, we'll be making some demonstrations in this video to start with to make you know that it is quite simple to learn Power Apps and to use Power Apps. This is actually genius from Microsoft, and it's a good way of promoting software development. You know, nowadays generally there's a lot of need and demand on tech, and I think there are not too much of them around, and this is part of the ways that companies like Microsoft are closing the gap between the need and the supply of developers. So with such tools as these, non-programmers, non-developers can pick up tools like this and do well. And how long has Power Apps been around? Microsoft Power Apps was introduced on November 30th, 2015 on the official Microsoft blog, and it entered into public preview on April 29th, 2016 and became generally available on 1st of November 2016. But in 2019, the name was changed to Power Apps to match the rebranding of other Microsoft products, including Power Automate, Power BI, and uh, Power Virtual Agents. So in this thread, we'll be making use of Power Apps and Power Automate. And an amazing thing again is, I mean, with Power Apps is that it connects to a whole lot of data sources. It can connect to MS Excel, Microsoft SQL Server, SharePoint, SharePoint List, and a host of other connections and add-ons. Who can learn Microsoft Power Apps? If you belong to any of these categories I will be listing, you can actually learn Power Apps as long as you are literate If you can read and write, basically, you can learn Power Apps. Then, if you have never programmed before, or you're a student, you college graduate, or you work in different areas of life, or you are not even none of the above mentioned that I've listed. I mean, if you have never programmed before, if you're a student, you college graduate, or you work in any unit in your organization or as anything, you can actually learn Power Apps. Or if you are retiring from a hardcore programming, like you've programmed with a host of high level languages and you want to soft pedal because maybe you are getting too much of gray hair, this is actually a very good option for you if you still want to continue in this sphere of IT. And then, if you are considering a career in IT or you want to shift career from where you are in IT to software development, that's for someone who is already in IT, but you want to shift from maybe networking, hardware, security, uh, data analysis, software testing, or anything, and you want to explore software development. This is going to be a very good and soft landing uh, for you. If also you have never done anything in IT other than to use computers, maybe for word processing or whatever, if you belong to this category, this is fantastic ground for you. Then, if you are an ardent user or MS Excel expert, where you use MS Excel a lot to do a host of things where you have to create multiple workbooks and worksheets and have to link them with formulas and do a whole lot of things, you would agree with me that sometimes you have problems tracking things appropriately. You may have problems generating reports, you may have problems remembering where things are saved, and especially when you have a situation where some of these files are shared between many users, given edit rights, you actually give some people privileges to edit them, and sometimes someone goes in there, changes something, and you're not really able to track who made those changes or what exactly changed. Power Apps is going to bail you out of this kind of worries. Then who need Power Apps? Who need Power Apps? If you if you have need for automations, for example, you have processes currently manually managed, Power Apps is going to really help you in automating them very quickly without the complements of several programmers or several processes and things like that. Yeah, if you have automations or you are in fast-paced environment where there are different processes that you might manage manually, no matter how small they might be, they take your attention, whether you like it or not, and they might get you disorganized very quickly because you have bits of processes that you wished you could automate. Power Apps is a very guaranteed tool to help you so quickly and easily. Yeah, and if you have short timelines, you are in a situation where you work on certain things, on certain processes which the business relies on, such that you just have to create things very quickly. So in that kind of space, yeah, if you are very proficient in Java, .NET framework, or whichever other programming language you have or you are licensed to use or you use within your organization, yes, you might have created your code in such a way that they are reusable and all that. Yes, .NET platforms, VB, C Sharp, they're also rapid development platforms, but I bet you that Power Apps is a lot faster because you are going to be clicking and dragging objects unlike .NET and in other programming languages where you still have to do a lot of work with the front end, especially if you're a full stack developer where you still have to rack your head around how do I get my front end, how do I cook my UI UX and things like that. With Power Apps, it's like ready made for you and just click and drag and it's quite interesting. The last thing I'll be talking about here is if you work in a fast-paced environment or highly innovative environment where you really need to get things done quickly, the list is actually endless. I've just decided to compress everything, just pick main points to talk about. Just about these three, it actually applies to any area of life where you use systems. Yeah, I might be over promising if I say that for whatever solution you need in your environment, that Power Apps will be able to do it for you. I don't want to get into that temptation that Power Apps is able to handle complex situations or complex systems like banking solutions, core engineering solutions, and a whole lot of that. It might not be able to handle all those appropriately yet because of certain dependencies and the resources overload or resources overhead of those kind of solutions. Yeah, but for other processes other processes, other internal processes which will not be so complex, yeah, Power Apps is going to be able to do that for you. And yes, if you're kind, I think I didn't mention that, but it's one of the very important parts that one of the very important benefits of Power Apps. If you work in a team, yeah, although with the advent of Git and um, all that, where collaboration is a lot easier now. In fact, with MS Power Apps, it's even a lot easier because you are essentially coding online. It's really easy for collaboration and code integrity as you are building the app. You know, as you are doing the solution, you are doing it right there online, such that it makes it easier for team members to continue from wherever you stop. You don't necessarily have to remember to push like we have in platforms like Git and other teams solutions. So for Power Apps, you're essentially coding online, and so per time your code are updated. And this is also very good for companies where handing over of code when someone is changing role or leaving an organization becomes an issue. In this case, it doesn't become an issue at all because as soon as the application is shared, everyone that is shared with can take over from exactly the point where the original developer stopped. And if you are collaborating, different people, different developers can work on the project at the same time. So there's really a lot of stuff there for you to explore and enjoy. And Power Apps is actually in three pieces. So you could decide to build your application as Canvas application, model-driven application, or as a portal app. But the easier to start with and the easiest and the cheapest to do would be Canvas application. It has access to a whole lot of connections and a whole lot of data sources that you use as backend or as add-ons to your applications. For model driven and portal, you will need additional license, especially for a CDS, which is now Dataverse. For Canvas application as well, you need a license because it doesn't bundle with the popular MS Office suite. Hence, you will still need a license to use Power Apps. However, I'll be giving you a way to start coding without buying the license. We'll go into how you can build web apps with Power Apps and even mobile apps with Power Apps. So Microsoft gives you 30 days free trial or even more, depending on the package you choose. I'll be taking you on how to open a demo account, which is going to be for a minimum of 30 days. Within 30 days, actually, really, if you are consistently developing on Power Apps, by the end of 30 days, you are a guru already. Just trust me for that. Then you can decide to acquire a full-fledged license and start development. And I really think 30 days is also long enough to convince yourself that you have got something that works. Yeah, so that's about that. Just about now, we'll be going into The next thing on how to discover if you have Power App subscription already in your environment, and if you do not have, and we also show how to create a demo account on Power Apps environment. All right. For the most part of our discussion, we'll be making use of Microsoft Powerapps. Powerapps is one of the go to Azure portal. And pick any of the existing accounts. You preferably use another account. Then click on create one. Then use another account. Yeah, you can use any of your existing accounts. Remember, we are only creating Azure account. This is not Powerapps account yet, because Powerapps is not going to allow you use your private email from a domain, from a public domain like Gmail, Yahoo, not even Outlook.com. So I'm waiting for my authentication from my Microsoft Authentication app. You have to download that from App Store, Google Play Store or App Store. Okay, fail first attempt. Okay, it's come through. Yeah, that's passed. Right, so here is the welcome to Microsoft Azure. Here's the account. So you've got loads of operations, loads of things you could do from that account. But for our own purpose, we are going to be picking just this. Use platform services to build apps. Yeah. Do next. Start the tour, or you just keep the tour. Close that. Yeah, Microsoft Enter ID. Right. So I've got like a private domain, which seems like an official or a work account. Yeah. So I've got a tenant. Right, so let's go back home and just to refresh that and come back to users. Add user to your tenant. I think you can add up to, you can add a couple of users, I think up to 16. So code, right, that could be automatic. And the display name, supply the display name. So code Powerapps. Right, so password is auto generated, but you could toggle that off and supply your own password. So just for confirmation. Right, review and create. Right, so let's go back to the users. Brilliant. So we got a standard email account that qualifies for Power App account there. So code that blah blah blah. Copy that email, open new tab. go to powerapps.com, powerapps.microsoft.com, click on Start Free, and yeah, so supply that email. If you use the public email here, it's not going to work. Start free. Right, use the same password you supplied while creating this particular user. Sign in. Right, we've got to change that password. New password, confirm password, sign in. Right, it's loading. Right, which account are you going to use? Use that same account. Boom, that's it. You got Powerapps. You got a Powerapps environment. Yeah, everything is bare. Yeah, let's log out. There's still something I need to show you. So for if you are not using this this account that we have just created, that special account from a tenant, if you attempt to use your email that belongs to a public domain like Gmail, Powerapps is not going to accept it, and it's going to suggest that you follow particular steps, which is a bit complicated. It's not too straightforward. Let me put it that way. So the best is to use the recommendation in this video. However, if anything has changed by the time you are watching this video, just look around Microsoft website or just check help around online, or you can come back to the comment section and ask your question. So we're logging back into the environment. Brilliant. So we got our environment ready. So in a very short while, in about another 3 minutes, you're going to create your first app, your very first app. Quite easy, quite simple. Get into it now that we have our account set up. So let's get into Microsoft Powerapps and get quickly familiar with it. Right, it's coming up. So just pick from your account that we just created, or your work account, or your school account, or whatever account that you have set up. Right, we are right home. So this is Powerapp, and here you have other tools, other applications, depending on the number of applications you find here, the number of objects you find here actually depends on the kind of license that you have. So we have access to these bits for now. Then here is the menu, home, where we are. This is where you create your apps, learning, other apps, tables for Dataverse, and we will be discussing about this much later. But let's just go to create. Practically in software development, there are approaches into developing your application. So you could build application from code first, then to database, because in practical terms, most applications will have databases. Most applications will have database. In fact, all applications should have database. Even your calculator app do have a temporary database. So all applications practically have database. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. If you are used to database already, if you are used to SQL Server or any form of other database management system, that's a great advantage for you. So essentially, you could build application by code first or by database first. So by database first, we mean we design the database first, then into the app. So this is where you begin from if you choose to begin from here. So you have you could open blank app. You could open a database database. If you have a Dataverse is an online database specifically for Power Apps. Yeah, and if you connect to SharePoint as well, you could also use SharePoint list as your database and other SharePoint objects where you have when you have them inside folders. And yeah, Excel is popular. Then you have SQL Server, so you could also connect to SQL Server database. But for this course, we will be using MS Excel since that's the most popular. So here is where we'll be connecting our database. But just before then, let's create our database because we'll be connecting to Google Sheet. You could also connect to Excel One Business if you have that, or OneDrive. So, but we will be making use of Excel. So let's open Google Sheet. Right, Google Sheet. So let's create a small database. What do we call it? Okay, do new. What do we call it? Okay, let's define first name, last name, city, maybe country, maybe well, for the purpose of demo, let's say age, let's say phone number, and let's name our sheet my customers list. Right. Good thing with Google Sheet is you don't have to hit on save, it saves automatically. Then we can navigate right back to our Power Apps environment. So click on Excel sheet. Takes a very short time depending on your internet speed, and you remember that Power Apps is always running online. So you can I already have an existing connection, but in your own side it may be blank, no worries. Then click on new connection. Right, so this is just a pinch of this is just a fraction of connections that Power Apps have. Amazon Redshift, Apache Impala, Azure. So these are the services that Power Apps, these are some of the services that Power Apps can connect into. If you have a complete license, you're going to see loads of stuff right here. But the connection of interest is Google Sheet. Yeah, Google Sheet, just click on create. It's going to establish connection between seeking for permission. So I'm picking my Google account. If you do not have a Gmail account, you might want to consider having one. For this purpose, allow access. Right, so right in my Gmail account, I've got all these Google Sheets. This is a Google Sheet of interest. Click on it. and this is the sheet 1 as we have it here. So you could have different sheets representing different areas. So okay, for the benefit of our colleagues who have never programmed before, so we are using this Excel as your storage space, as a database where our data will be stored, where records will be stored. So this is our database. You might decide to be using SQL Server. That is very fine. We'll be talking about that in a bit, not in this video, but we are going to address that later. SQL Server is actually one of the most robust database management system out there that you want to consider for for warehousing your data, especially when you have big data. But for small organizations, for individual use, you can still manage with Google Sheet. Yeah. So let's go back to Powerapps. So yeah, we have our sheet here. So this is sheet 1. We could call this sheet, you could name this sheet customer records. You could create another sheet, call it customer transactions, name another sheet, call it customer appointments, and things like that. So let's go back to here. Sheet 1 is our sheet. Click on it and connect. So Powerapps is connecting to your database and building the interface for our database, and it's going to do that just in a bit. That's how fantastic Powerapps is. It's so irrespective of the number of fields you supplied in the Google Sheet or your database, Powerapps is going to automatically generate a form for it. So let's quickly get familiar to the layout of Powerapps. Right on the left here, you have the tree view, the insert, data, and all that. You could try and explore that, but right here is our screen. So these are sheets. These are what we call forms in other programming languages, or pages. So these are your pages. It is called screen in Microsoft Powerapps. And here, undo and do, you could copy and paste right here, cut and paste. Then this is where you have controls that you'll be using. We will not cover that in this video, but in the next video we'll be covering extensively how to make use of each of these components or objects or controls and the powers that they have. This is where you can decide to add more data. So we've got our sheet 1 here. Then if you want to add more new screen, you can have blank screen, scrollable, and blah 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 blah. Right, we are editing, and right here you have the properties of object, whatever object that is selected on the left hand side here. So if you look at this, so right here is where you run the application. This is where you save. This is where you share the application with other users within the environment or even outside of your environment. Then this is where you publish your application to the public for usage. Now let's run our application. So you could see the Powerapps has created the application for you. It doesn't really make sense now. It looks blank, but it's giving you different controls here: refresh, sort, and create new item. So let's create new item. Age, let's say 26, 20, 25, 26, whatever. So in real life programming or software development, taking this field is not advised. It's better you take date of birth, but for the purpose of this video, let's just stick with that. Let's say New York, country USA, first name Laura, last name Sanders, and it was 1 2 3 blah 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 blah, and Powerapps is giving you the save button here. Right, you have that. Do you want to add another record? Plus age 65, same New York, USA, Allen Banks, 1 2 3 blah 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 blah. Save. Could you see the magic that you do not have to write any code? You didn't have to write any code at this point. Let's say London, United Kingdom. First name is Anderson Jones, plus 44 blah 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 blah, and save. You've got your application, you've got your list, and by just clicking on any of them, it takes you to another page where you see their details, and you could just click on edit, and let's change this to 26. Save. It's saved. Back. See right here. Okay, let's increase this view a bit. Sorry about that. You could do that right here, and let's run again. Oh, okay, I think this is from my system. Okay, I think your view should be better, or better still, you could make use of the properties. When you click here, you could go to the properties, font size 15, and that's it. I think it looks a bit better here. So that's basically it. Congratulations, you have built if you have followed me, you have successfully built your very first application. Now you believe that you could actually be a developer overnight. See me in the next video. Thank you.